Two people could be earning the same every month for a period of 5 years. Financially, after 5 years, there could be a huge difference as far as their finances is concerned. One could be getting closer to financial freedom, while the other would be getting deeper into financial crisis. What possible explanation would you give for this?
There could be a million explanations to this. However, we understand that money is that which one earns, spends, saves, and invests. It is very clear that the two people are working and they are earning. The difference is coming in between their earning, their spending, their saving, and their investing. From the moment that one has earned, there is a gap that needs to be bridged very wisely so that one can be able to spend in a way that will liberate them, take them closer to financial freedom rather than into financial crisis. It is likely that budgeting, which should come in between earning and spending, is a tool which is not being used by the person who is getting deeper into financial crisis. It is likely that the person who is getting closer to financial freedom has done his or her budgeting in a great way. I think between the two, budgeting could be what is causing the big difference.
What is budgeting?
Budgeting is a financial process whereby one takes a complete account of their income or their earnings, their spending or their expenses, and where they are spending that money. One is able to track that spending and therefore keeping it in proper financial control.
Would you give us some of the types of budgeting?
There are many types of budgeting, and some are well known. For example, there is the government budgeting, which is done every year and runs into the billions or even trillions. There is also organizational budgeting, which in most cases will run into the hundreds of millions. There is the family budgeting, which may run into the thousands. And there could also be the personal budgeting, which may also run into the thousands.
Would you suggest a budgeting formula?
Financially, many professionals go by the 50, 30, 20% budgeting rule, which indicates that one should be able to set aside 50% of their earnings to take care of their needs, 30% of their earnings to take care of their wants, and 20% of their earnings for their savings. It is, however, very important to note that my budgeting, your budgeting, and the budgeting of another person may be different. Why do I say so? One person could be employed and living single without having a family. Another person could be employed by the same organization, the same job, getting the same earning, but they have a family of 2 children. Another one could be having even a bigger family. So, the 50, 30, 20% may not work for all these people. One must be able to understand their income and their expenses. And expenses will do differ. But one thing is common in this. When one is budgeting, you must be able to think about your needs. You must also be able to think about your wants. And you must be able to think about your savings. When you talk about the needs, note that the biggest percentage of your earning or income should go to your needs. Then, you need to have a quorum for your wants if very necessary. Note, if not very necessary, you can at times avoid or ignore the quorum of your wants. But you must always have a certain percentage of your income going to your savings. Savings are very important. Unfortunately, many people do not save, and therefore they find themselves getting into a rat race every month, eager for every month because they are broke, they are in debt, and they have borrowed to the maximum. They cannot borrow anymore. They have borrowed from all the available avenues, and therefore they cannot be able to borrow anymore. And therefore, every month for them is like a matter of life and death. Please note, when you talk about the 50, 30, 20% budgeting rule, remember that when you are earning, what you earn is your gross salary. But you never get your gross salary in your account. Whatever you get is your net salary, and this is what you must budget for. You can never budget for your gross salary because you won't receive the gross in your bank account. You can only be able to budget for your net salary. Remember, your net salary is your gross minus all the deductions which are made, including tax. So you can only be able to budget for your net salary. Another important thing to note here is that if your net salary, for example, is 100,000 shillings, we are using 100 for simple calculation, mental calculation, for anyone to be able to understand what we are talking about. If your net is 100,000 Kenyan shillings, your budget cannot read anything more than these 100,000 shillings. It will be a wrong budget for you. Your budget must be less or within the 100,000 shillings that you are getting as your net at the end of the month. One person may decide, out of the 100,000 shillings I'm getting, I will spend 50% on my needs, I will spend 30% on my wants, and I will be able to save 20%, either for emergency, the targeted saving for a certain goal, or even for paying debt. Another person may decide, because at the moment my expenses are not very high, I will spend 40% on my needs. Then I will spend 20% on my wants, and I will spend the remaining 40% on my savings, which I would recommend for the young people who could be listening or watching this lesson. Use the 40, 20, 40% for your budgeting as per the time you are young, before responsibilities are more, and therefore the needs will go higher. You will be having something in your saving or something you've been able to invest so that you can be able to take care of the increasing needs which come with age.
What is the key difference between a need and a want?
A need and a want are different. And there is a very thin line that separates the two. Unfortunately, many people are not able to see the thin line between the two, and therefore they get confused, spending so much on their wants, neglecting their needs, ending up in debt, not really understanding, are they taking care of their wants or for their needs? A need is a requirement that one has, which is very essential. And if the need is not met, it can completely affect the day-to-day life of the person. So, you must always be able to meet your needs. Because if you don't do so, you will be completely inconvenienced as far as your day-to-day life is concerned. On the other hand, a want is something that you desire. but it won't affect so much your day-to-day life. You not being able to get the desire that you have in form of a want may not even affect in any way your day-to-day life. You will be able to go about your day-to-day activities in almost a completely okay way, even without having that specific want that you desire. It is very important to be able to distinguish between the two, because if you confuse a want and a need, you might spend all your life getting into serious financial crisis. I'm not advocating that you shouldn't take care of your wants, because if anything, they make you more comfortable, they make you more happy in life. But my point is, you must always give priority to your needs, and your wants might come second or even third after your savings. You can live without those wants, but you cannot be able to live without meeting your needs. Remember, food, clothing, and shelter traditionally have been recognized as the basic needs of a human being. But these days, one can make this need to become a want. What do I mean? Food is a need which is basic. But when you decide to go and eat out, and you spend 5 times or even times more than you would have spent if you cooked the same food in your house, now that one becomes a want. It is no longer a need. Shelter. If you can afford living in a specific neighborhood, but you decide to move to another neighborhood which is 3 or even 4 times more expensive, then shelter for you becomes a want. It is no longer a need, because you are spending far much more than you should on that shelter. Think about transport. Transport is a need. Maybe from your home to your workplace, it is a need. But if you decide to buy a brand new, very expensive car, and a second-hand good car would have done the same, transporting you from home to work, now that one becomes a want. It is no longer a need. If you talk about clothing, if you decide that you want to put on designer clothes every other time, you want designer handbags, you want designer perfumes, which will cost you even 100 times more than the regular clothing, the regular handbag, the regular perfume and such, then for you, now that one becomes a want. It is no longer a need. Lastly, if you think about a phone, it is important in the 21st century for one to have a phone so that you can be able to communicate. But if you decide to go for the most expensive phone, the greatest phone, then that one is no longer a need, it's a want. Because with less money, you would have been able to meet the same objective that you are meeting with the very expensive, the greatest, the finest, and the same message you pass with the latest iPhone will be the same message you pass with a regular Samsung phone. And therefore, it is for you to decide, is this a need or is it a want? Many people in the 21st century are justifying their wants to be needs so that they can spend more, so that they can have something to show off, so that they can be like their friends, to go with the fashion, with the trend. But at the end of the day, they find themselves in serious financial crisis. Getting to understand the difference between a need and a want will set you miles and miles apart from the person who doesn't understand what you understand.
Many financial advisors promote the idea that one shouldn't save if they have a debt. What do you think?
Saving is very important. Servicing one's debt is equally very important. But saving must be understood in 2 ways. One could be saving for their emergency fund. Another person could be doing the general saving Maybe they have a target of buying something and therefore they have a goal for their saving. The two are different. If we compare emergency saving with paying a debt first, then I would advise ensure that you've been able to accumulate your emergency savings first before you start paying any debt. What do I mean? Financially, one is secure if in your bank account you have about 3 months of your monthly saving going up to 6 months. And when you talk about your monthly living expenses, we mean your need. If monthly you spend 40% of your income to cater for your needs, which is 40,000 in our example above, it means you should have this 40,000 times 3 to times 6 in your bank account as your emergency fund. That will come to about 120,000 shillings or 240,000 Kenyan shillings as part of your emergency fund. Once you've been able to take care of your emergency fund, you can be sure if the worst comes to be, you'll be able to take good financial care of yourself for the next 3 months or 6 months as you try to get another source of income. Now, if your emergency fund is set and you have a debt, I wouldn't say that you pay your debt first before you make your general savings, but you can decide to do so depending on your financial status. But my standard advice would be, if like in our example above, you spend 40%, which is 40,000 for your savings, I would say you can use half of the 40,000 to take care of your debt and the other half to go to your general saving. So you will end up paying a debt 20,000 shillings. Then you can build up on your general saving with the other 20,000 shillings. However, this will depend on the minimum you can pay for that debt and how comfortable you feel paying that to 50% out of your saving or increasing it so that you can be able to deal with the principal amount as soon as possible to ensure that the interest is not accumulating as much. This will depend with an individual financial situation. Saving is important. Your emergency saving is even more important. And the paying of debt is equally important. It is a personal choice to decide what to start with depending on the financial status you could be in at a current state. Budgeting is not simple because if it were simple, everyone would have budgeted. And again, budgeting is not hard as people may look at it. It is just a personal choice. Track your spendings for a month. Then you can be able to come up with a monthly budget, which you can be able to revise in your second month, your third month, and by the time you are getting to your 6th month, you can have a solid budget on a monthly basis that will lead you closer and closer to financial freedom.
That was an awesome lesson on budgeting. Thank you, thank you, thank you.